And welcome, everyone. Thank you, Paul, for the intro. And I will reiterate what Paul has said, that it is not only a pleasure, but a privilege for us to spend this time with you. And it is such a piece of good news to hear that we have so many people who have joined us in the month of September. We appreciate them, and we hope that they will stay with us, work with us, and see their goals being achieved, both in their health and in their finances. So as Paul said, my name is Betty, and as always, it is my pleasure to spend this half an hour with you, talking to you about our Neolife products. If you are new, we have this training that goes on. We try to touch on as many products as possible in about twice a year. So we have about 6 month cycle, and then we start again. And so I'm very hopeful and trust that you're going to benefit from today's session, which you may have seen from your invite is about reproductive health. And just to introduce the topic by saying that this is often an emotive matter. And so we as Neolife distributors should always be sensitive when people come to us with issues which are quite emotionally charged. And this is one of them. So, of course, the beginning of everything, as we always say, in health is to have a healthy lifestyle, because through our training and through our products and our company, we know that many of the serious illnesses that we suffer from nowadays are related not to so much to infections as to the lifestyle choices that we make. So in the same thing would be the first advice we give to a couple who is hoping to conceive, that they should take care of their own health by adopting a healthy lifestyle that will prepare them for being parents, if this should be their good fortune. So just to start with, as usual, we know that there are important factors in a healthy lifestyle, and I'll mention a few of them. Many of them will be familiar, but we always like to repeat these things because it helps us to remember, and for those who are new, maybe to learn one or two things. So as always, very important is to minimize or eliminate refined sugar from the diet, to reduce refined grain products, and also to eliminate junk food, and to opt for healthy fats. These are all dietary changes that, if necessary, should be made by everyone, and also, as in this topic of today, by people who are hoping to conceive. Then we also recommend good quality proteins as far as possible. We recommend plenty of vegetables and maybe some fruits. We recommend an increase in movement in the lifestyle. It may be joining a gym, it may be taking up different kinds of exercise, or it may be as simple as walking or just being active in one's day-to-day life. Then we also recommend prioritizing 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night, because as when we cover the topic of sleep and rest, we always say that sleep is very important, because it is what gives our bodies a chance for repairing itself. Then we also recommend here for people who are hoping to conceive, to try to take steps to resolve the stressors in their lives. And this includes, of course, the stress of maybe the conception is not occurring as immediately as they would prefer. I've had people who've been married 6 months already asking why is it taking so long, and so on. But 6 months can be very short. I think that we should not start stressing unnecessarily, and stress is not going to help matters. So rather, to put oneself in God's hands, and at the same time to do the best one can in terms of lifestyle and any other thing that we can do. Because finally, life belongs to God, and we entrust ourselves to Him while doing the best that we can as human beings. Then, if there is a situation of substance use or abuse, it should be stopped. So, for example, things like cigarettes, cannabis, excessive alcohol, all these should be removed from the lifestyle. And we should also try to minimize or eliminate hormone disruptors. Hormone disruptors will be found in environmental toxins that can come from plastic residues, can come from pesticides, and can also come from the use of toxic home care agents. And that is why we always say that the first step towards detoxifying yourself is using our home care range to make sure that you are not inadvertently making your home a toxic zone. So those are some of the factors that we might include. Of course, there are more, but I will leave the list for you to add some other things. And then I wanted to go on to speak about some of the causes of reduced fertility. Now, as I said at the beginning, but I want to repeat again, as Neolife distributors, we should be careful about overpromising what our products can do in the issues to do with fertility problems, especially if the cause is not known, because our products will not help every kind of cause of fertility problems. So our products can usually help if the cause is related to hormone imbalance or to nutritional deficiency or to a lifestyle-related illness that maybe the woman might be suffering from. If it is something to do with the tissues and organs and problems with such like biological things, we might not be able to help, and we should not simply promise that we can help any and every case. So just a matter of caution there, because as I said, it's an emotive subject. And if we are not being straight with the person concerned, it could cause more harm than good. Then moving on, of course, it's always our part as distributors to educate about how lifestyle choices can contribute to illness, and some of these illnesses can actually lead to reduced fertility. Our products, some of the conditions that can lead to reduced fertility are things like PCOS, endometriosis, fibroids, and STDs, sexually transmitted diseases. I'm going to come back to those a little bit later, but I just wanted to conclude this section by saying that one of the things that actually can play an important role in reproductive problems is insulin. If our sugar metabolism is problematic and we have got a situation where insulin is not well regulated in our bodies, then it often leads to tissue growth, so unwanted growths in random parts of the body. And this includes things like fibroids and cysts and so on. So any lifestyle illnesses that is associated with unwanted growths will be alleviated by managing our blood insulin levels through our diet as well as the use of Botanical Balance. So when we advise people, for example, to resolve problems like diabetes or prediabetes, it is not only to get rid of the illness itself, but also of the downstream problems that result from the illness. So then now let me mention some of the core products that we recommend for reproductive health. And first on the list will be the herbal preparations, the herbal feminine complex for women and the masculine complex for men. These play an important role in balancing the hormones. Remember that our sexuality is governed by hormones, and these hormones have got to be in a very fine balance, which should be maintained as far as possible. So these herbal preparations have got herbs that help the body in balancing the hormones in the way that it should be. And then the next product that we recommend is ProVitality. If the people are able to afford it, at least 3NN should be included. If maybe ProVitality is not possible, it is not affordable, definitely 3NN will play an important role. But as we know, ProVitality is a good choice because it will contain 3NN as well as omega-3 and multi, as well as carotenoid complex. So it's a good choice because it is going to help in cellular nutrition as well as in reducing inflammation in the body. We also recommend for reproductive health vitamin E, which is important for both men and women. It improves the quality of sperm because remember the sperm have got to be healthy so that they can swim to find the egg and fertilize it. And it also, vitamin E is also important for ladies to help the cervix, that is the canal through which the sperm is going to swim, to be receptive towards the sperm and not maybe harm it, because sometimes there can be problem where the cervix is working against the sperm. So vitamin E for both ladies and gentlemen, the same thing with Pro-Vitality or 3NN, depending on the choice. We also recommend, especially for men, but also ladies can partake of chelated zinc, because chelated zinc plays an important role in male sexuality. It helps with the male hormones such as testosterone, which plays a very important role in male sexuality. And it also plays an important role in being able to perform the sexual act. So chelated zinc, very important for gems. And of course, in addition to masculine herbal complex, will also play that role. And then we recommend multi as a general multivitamin, multimineral for men to take. And for ladies, recommend multimineral, which is also a mineral preparation that will help ladies if maybe they are suffering from some mineral deficiencies. So multimineral will be good for ladies, and for gents, they can take multi. Then we go on to recommend Beta-Guard, because Beta-Guard plays an important role in detox, as well as in supporting the body in many different types of processes. So Beta-Guard will be a good addition there. And finally, if there is a problem with sugar metabolism, we would also include Botanical Balance. So one of the tests that one should take if they are trying to conceive and maybe they are finding that it's not happening is to check if their sugar metabolism is all right. And by using Botanical Balance, we help the body to manage the sugar better, of course, also with good dietary choices. Then, so those are the products I would recommend for generally for supporting the reproductive health. And then I wanted to go on to mention those illnesses that I mentioned before, which can contribute to a reduction in fertility or tampering with the fertility. So as I mentioned before, there is endometriosis, which is an overgrowth of cells in the lining of the uterus. And this can be something that runs in families. It is inflammatory and it can be autoimmune. That is, the body is growing cells in abnormal places and then breaking those cells down and causes heavy bleeding and pain and cramps and heavy bleeding. And this can reduce fertility and can also cause excessive loss of blood. And as I mentioned, also pain. It can be aggravated by Western style diet that is has got too much refined carbohydrates and maybe junk food and fried food and so on. So in order to alleviate some of the problems of this type, it's good to make better choices of food and maybe eliminate some of the problem food. For example, there can be problems with the dairy, there can be problems with wheat, and there can be problems with refined fried carbohydrates. So one can look at one's diet if this is an issue and try to eliminate this and get better choices, usually picked from our traditional diet of, especially in choosing carbohydrates. So look at your traditional diet, consult with people in your culture to see what it was that they would use in the diet for things like maybe they were using cassava, maybe they were using millet and such like grains, and opt for those ones rather than we take a very heavy amount of wheat, for example. So if wheat is a problem for you, if you're taking a lot of it, of course, the problem is going to be worsened. Small amounts may not be problematic, but some people tolerate it very well, others do not. So for that reason, it's always good if we have problems to investigate some of the foods that tend to be problematic to see whether we have, there is a need for us to adjust our choices. Then, of course, gut-friendly foods that are rich in fiber, maybe fermented foods, again, from our culture. So things like in the Kalenjin culture, we've got things like mutsik. We have got, in the Luo culture, we ferment our porridge, we ferment our vegetables. In different cultures, I know that the fermenting of vegetables is common. In the coastal cultures, they ferment fish. And all these usually bring good microbes that support our guts and help our immune system to settle down. So once again here, whenever I mention that we should look in our culture to see which foods were used, these are the foods which our systems have been used to for many generations. And if we find that we are not tolerating the modern type of diet well, it's good to see how we can incorporate some of these things. So for endometriosis, on the side of our products, we would recommend flavonoid complex, which helps in healing the damaged tissues in the walls of the uterus and other places. We would recommend Beta-Guard for detox, chelated zinc for healing the affected tissues, multimineral to replenish the losses from bleeding, omega-3 salmon oil to reduce inflammation, and also where possible, acidophilus. The acidophilus, I know as usual, some markets do not have it. We can then opt for increasing the fiber in our diet and also going for traditional fermented foods. It can be fermented milk, fermented veggies, and so on. So we should also try to identify and eliminate problem food. It could be sugar, it could be coffee, wheat, dairy. We can discontinue them and see if there is any improvement. Then the other one I want to mention is fibroids. These are non-cancerous growths that appear on the walls of the uterus. And these can affect, they are non-cancerous, and are often not harmful, but they can affect the quality of life depending on their size and where they are located. So if they are very large, or if they are near the bladder or the rectum, they can cause incontinence. So for that reason, it is they can actually be a factor of some of the problems. They can be due to hormonal imbalance, plastic residues, or herpes virus infection. They are harmless, as I said, but may reduce fertility if they are very large. Sometimes it may be necessary to consult a doctor to see if they can be surgically removed. They can also lead to heavy menstrual flows and thereby leading to anemia, that is to having a low blood count. So some of the lifestyle habits that we can eliminate if we are suffering from fibroids or if it runs in our families is avoiding alcohol and processed foods and increasing healthy things in our diet, for example, vegetables, healthy fats, and so on. Then on the Neolife side for fibroid, we recommend Beta-Guard to assist the liver with detox. We recommend Cruciferous Plus, as well as multimineral and herbal feminine complex. Then the next one is PCOS, Polycystic Ovarian Syndrome, which is when you have fluid-filled swellings appearing on the ovaries. It can lead to the absence or irregularity of periods, and it is often linked to diabetes or pre-diabetes or to one's genetics. So this is one where we need to be aware of problems with sugar metabolism. Then it can lead to hormonal imbalance and overproduction of testosterone in women. Women do have testosterone, but it should be within a small. It should be a small amount within a narrow range. So the polycystic ovarian syndrome can lead to overproduction of testosterone and the growth of unwanted hair for ladies. And if a woman with this issue gets pregnant, they may end up having pregnancy diabetes. So there's a certain kind of diabetes that appears with pregnancy. So for that reason, when we are dealing with PCOS, it becomes a very important thing to look at the sugar metabolism. So we should eliminate sugar from the diet as far as possible, as well as excessive intake of refined grains and factory oils. These, remember that some of the factory oils are produced by refining grain, so it's a double problem. So these tend to interfere with hormones and can cause problems. So we opt for better choices in carbohydrates, as well as increase good proteins and vegetables. And if someone is smoking, then that is another problem that should be dealt with. And on the Neolife side, for PCOS, we'll recommend herbal feminine complex. We recommend Botanical Balance to help regulate blood sugar, and also Pro-Vitality to fight inflammation and oxidative stress. Then on the condition I've spoken about so far are affecting ladies. So let us look at some that affect gents. So the first one I have here is erectile dysfunction, which is sometimes known as impotence. That is the inability to have or to sustain an erection. This can have various causes, such as stress, obesity, high blood pressure, hormonal imbalance, and certain medications, as well as substance abuse. It can also be related to age and certain illnesses. It is often linked to high blood pressure and high blood sugar, which damages blood vessels, because an erection, it depends on blood supply to the sexual organs. And if there is a problem with the blood pressure, then obviously there will also be a problem of erectile dysfunction. So on the lifestyle side, we recommend exercise, and because exercise is going to help to increase the amount of testosterone, especially weight-bearing exercises for men is very useful for this. And also good dietary choices. So the ones that we have spoken about a number of times today. And then on the Neolife side, for this, we recommend herbal masculine complex to help stabilize the hormones. We also recommend chelated zinc, omega-3 salmon oil to improve the health of blood and blood vessels, and also aloe vera plus for both men and women to help in managing stress. Then last, because I see my time is running out, is problems to do with the prostate glands. We know that as men reach middle age and on, they may start having problems with the prostate gland, which might become inflamed, and then you say we have prostatitis. And this requires visiting a doctor to see what is causing the inflammation of the prostate, because it can lead to irritations of the bladder and problems with urination. Of course, if our urinary system is not working well, then we end up needing to detox as well. So the inflamed prostate can also contribute to erectile dysfunction, which I mentioned previously, and also problems of pain during sexual intercourse. Then sometimes there's no inflammation in the prostate, it is simply enlarged. And the enlarged prostate gland is also another common problem that occurs in middle-aged and older men. And it can also be attended to, but by using some of the Neolife supplements, we would be able to, and lifestyle changes, we would be able to deal with this. So men from the age of mid-30s, 40s should always be taking Cruciferous Plus as a matter of habit. And then we also recommend herbal masculine complex to balance hormones and chelated zinc. And then on the lifestyle side, we recommend an improvement in dietary choices, an elimination of sugar and refined carbohydrates, an increase in the intake of vegetables. And if a man is overweight, then to work towards normalizing the weight, especially abdominal fats, which can be a problem as we grow older. And of course, an active lifestyle is going to help with improving our hormones, with improving our health, with improving our blood supply. So as men grow older, bad lifestyle choices can lead to the lowering of testosterone, which is very important for the masculine system. And it may end up finding that the female hormone estrogen starts competing with testosterone. So for the gents, it's very important to have an active lifestyle and a healthy one in order to ensure that your testosterone levels remain high enough to sustain the masculine system properly. So I think I shall stop there. But thank you very much for spending this time with us in this training. I hope that you have found something that is beneficial to you. As I think I've said, but we'll repeat again, I see that some hands are up. Please, if you have a question, you send it to me by WhatsApp, which the numbers are usually available, or you can inquire from, I think many of the people will have my number. I'll be happy to converse with you about whatever issue you may be having, because during the training, it is not actually possible for me to attend to the raised hands. And now I want to hand you over to Pascal, who is waiting to take you through goal setting. As Paul said, we are closing towards the end of the year, but there is still time for us to set goals, to reach goals, and to go for it. So I hand you over to Pascal, and I wish you all the best in the month of October, and looking forward to spending time again with you on Thursday next week. Thank you very much. Here is Pascal now.